Whoa! I never thought about that!
All right, let's jump right in. Think about this. Your body, it's basically a fortress, right? It's constantly being protected, constantly defended. But what if the soldiers who are supposed to protect that fortress suddenly start attacking the walls from the inside? Yeah, that's the crazy civil war we're going to talk about today. It's called autoimmunity.
And I'm not just being poetic here. You literally have a microscopic army inside you. We call it the immune system. And it's this incredibly powerful, highly trained force that's patrolling your body 24/7. It's fighting off viruses, nasty bacteria, all sorts of infections. I mean, it's the reason a simple cold doesn't turn into a total disaster.
But this is where things get really interesting and kind of scary. What happens when that brilliant protective army gets confused? What if it can't tell the difference between some invading enemy and the very cells it's sworn to protect?
Okay, so to really get what's going on, we first have to understand how the system is supposed to work. Just think of your immune system as the most elite security team on the entire planet. Its mission is super specific and absolutely vital.
So when you boil it all down, the immune system's job is actually pretty simple. It has one single fundamental task: figure out who's a friend and who's a foe. That's it. As it makes its rounds through your body, it's constantly checking the ID of every single cell it bumps into. Your own healthy cells, they get a friendly nod, a pass. But viruses, bacteria, any of those harmful invaders, nope, they are marked for immediate destruction, no questions asked. But sometimes that amazing recognition system messes up. It makes a mistake. And this is basically the biological version of friendly fire, where the defenders accidentally turn their weapons on their own side.
And this whole situation, this tragic mistake, it has a name: autoimmune disease. It's what happens when the system completely loses its way. It can't tell the difference anymore, and it turns the body's own healthy tissues into targets in this relentless, misguided attack. This idea was so mind-blowing to the first scientists who discovered it, they gave it this really dramatic name. The Nobel Prize winner Paul Ehrlich, one of the pioneers in this field, he looked at this phenomenon of self-attack, and he called it horror autotoxicus. That's Latin, and it literally means the fear of self-poisoning. And that name just perfectly captures the sheer horror scientists felt at the idea that the body's own protective forces could turn self-destructive. It was a complete biological paradox. It just shouldn't happen.
So how can we possibly make sense of such a complex screw-up? Well, let's use a simple analogy to break it down. We'll go back to that idea of a security team.
Okay, so imagine a security guard. His job is simple: stop strangers from getting into an office building. He's given a list, right? A list of all the employees who are allowed in. But one day, the list is wrong. It's corrupted or just plain faulty. Now the guard, he's just trying to do his job based on the info he has, but he starts blocking actual employees from getting inside. See the problem? The mistake isn't the guard. His programming is fine. The data he's working with is bad. And that is exactly what the immune system does in this case. It's working off a bad list. Which, of course, brings us to the biggest question of all. If the guard is working from a bad list, how did that list get messed up in the first place? What triggers all this confusion? Well, scientists have a few key suspects they're investigating. Yeah, there isn't really one single answer here. It's more like a perfect storm of different factors. So first up, you've got genetics. Some of us are just born with a system that's a bit more likely to get confused. It just runs in the family. Then a huge one, infections. An infection can be a major trigger because of something scientists call molecular mimicry. This is wild. It's where an invading virus has parts that look almost identical to our own cells. So the immune system, doing its job, launches a totally correct attack against the virus. But after the fight is over, it stays on high alert, and now it's mistakenly targeting our own healthy cells that just happen to look like the bad guy it just fought. And finally, you have environmental factors. Things like chronic stress, your diet, maybe exposure to certain chemicals or pollutants. Any of these can be that final push that a vulnerable system needs to just go haywire. And look, this isn't just some abstract science concept. Not at all. Autoimmune diseases affect millions and millions of people, and they can show up in completely different ways, all depending on which part of the body is under attack. So for instance, in type 1 diabetes, the immune army goes after the insulin-producing cells in the pancreas. With rheumatoid arthritis, the attack is focused on the lining of your joints, causing all that pain and inflammation.
And then you have something like lupus, where the attack can be all over the place. It can affect your skin, your joints, your kidneys, even your brain. So the key takeaway here is that the where of the attack is what defines the specific disease.
So where do we go from here? I mean, if the system is broken, how do we possibly fix it? Well, the goal of modern medicine isn't just to, stop the attack. It's to do something much, much smarter.
The ultimate goal, the holy grail really, is to recalibrate the whole system. It's all about re-educating the body's army, reminding it who the real enemy is, and teaching it to once again recognize its own side. It's less about winning a violent battle and more about, say, signing a peace treaty and bringing order back to the fortress.
And that really is the central challenge at the heart of immunology today. How do you teach an army to recognize its own side again? It's such a profound question, and finding the answer, well, it doesn't just promise a way to treat a disease. It promises a way to restore the body's own powerful protective peace.
And that's just one tiny big question. Imagine what's next, subscribe, and let's keep wondering.